Chat GTP3 is something we're looking at very closely, of course. How do we improve and save these organizations time and money? Narrowed it down to probably like about 5 ideas. We spoke to a lot of people just trying to gather intel, understanding where the biggest pain point was and also where the biggest opportunities were. We're thinking about a usage-based model maybe as well with some bundling based on the number of tickets you get. Very positive longer term, like over the next 6 to 12 months. But I think, it's just going to be driven by macro events more than anything and just risk on and risk off sentiment.
GM, welcome to another episode of the Board Founders Show. Today with me, Richard Draper, co-founder of Mava, a customer support platform for web3 organizations, co-founder of Koia, community-driven platform to buy, collect, and trade alternative assets, ambassador at NFTFi, startup advisor, CFA, and my guest today. Welcome, Richard. Welcome to the show. How are you, man?
Hi, amazing. Thanks very much for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you. This is our second episode, so we're just starting, and we have such a great guests for the first and the second episode. So could you introduce yourself a bit, tell the listeners who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think you've already given the intro, but
yeah.
I'm Richard, one of the co-founders of Mava. So just a bit of background. So I spent about 10 years working in finance in London and always had an itch to start my own business. And then during the pandemic, I met one of my co-founders, Iris, online, and then shortly followed by one of my other co-founders, Ben. So we all met on a site called Working Startups, and we came together to start a business called Koia, which was a fraction investing platform. And we were linking physical collectibles like watches, wine, and whiskey to NFTs. And we ran that business, raised a bit of capital for it. We did that for about 1.5 years. And then we decided on quite a major pivot to what we're working on now full time, which is Mava. And Mava is essentially intercom for Web3. So we're building an omni-channel customer support platform to connect all your users across Web3 channels all into one place.
Great. Thanks. How did you start your first business, and what was the motivation behind going from the banking, the investment side, the corporate side of business to founding your own business?
Yeah, so I'd always been really interested in entrepreneurship, and as one of my roles in finance many years ago now, I was working in a wealth manager and was exposed, dealing with wealthy individuals and primarily entrepreneurs. I'd always sort of admired entrepreneurs and, just fascinated in not only their stories, but also just, the very diverse nature of the individuals as well. And always interested to learn more about the businesses. So I'd always wanted to do it, but I guess I just never had the courage to go and do it out on my own. And I think I'd just fallen into that track of, go to university, get a job, and it's very easy just to sit in a job indefinitely. So during the pandemic, I was working at a hedge fund, and I got let go basically in sort of early pandemic, along with sort of a number of my other colleagues. And it was like the perfect push up a ledge, I'd always wanted to do it. And I thought there's going to be no better time. I'm literally sitting in my bedroom, can't go outside. So yeah, I'd been running a few little websites in the background, but nothing too serious, more like content websites and things like that. And got an idea for how things work and some very basic stuff that, I'm sure most of your listeners will already be well aware of. And then, for me, I was really driven. I wanted to go out and find a co-founder. I didn't want to do it on my own. And, I've been extremely fortunate to find both Iris and Ben online in such a short period of time. And yeah, as I said, we're still working together. So it's been going really well.
Great. And how did you get into the Web3 rabbit hole? Because we are here talking about Web3, about the new internet. And how did you get into it?
Yeah, so I guess compared to a lot of your OG listeners, I'm probably quite late to the party. So I think maybe back in 2014, I was a little bit involved with Stellar. Obviously, Bitcoin was a little bit in the news, but I didn't really pay much attention to it. And we'd very occasionally have conversations about it in with other financy friends, but didn't really take it too seriously. And then probably 2017, 18, again, when we had the big price changes, everyone got a bit interested. Again, didn't really participate. And then I guess so it's only really been the past couple of years and I guess probably quite heavily influenced as well by a couple of friends who are very interested. I've got one friend who's very involved with a crypto hedge fund, and one of my co-founders, Ben, was very deep in the space, and that really opened my eyes to not only the possibilities, but also I guess the exciting elements of it as an entrepreneur, right? Like it's almost like a new frontier. It's I guess how maybe it felt in '99 if you were doing an internet company.
Yeah,
I think that's super exciting. And then obviously for me, like I guess what really appealed was the democratization of financial services. I think that was really interesting. Having come from that traditional finance background, seeing all these new, more exciting, very accessible things that are being built. Some dangerous for dangerous elements as well, but I mean also very exciting and very interesting. And I guess that's really what got me hooked.
Was it strange for your colleagues from the financial from the traditional finance firms, because a lot of the traditional finance world is looks at crypto and they say it's a fraud, it's a scam, it doesn't have value, and it's an opposition to the financial system. Did you have such talks with your colleagues, for example?
A little bit. I think it's a generational thing to a degree. Certainly older colleagues may be less tech savvy, less familiar with, or I guess less appreciation of the technology and the potential change that could bring. And also there's just a bias towards keeping the status quo if that's worked for you for a long number of years, right? But yeah, I think generally the way it's portrayed in the media isn't necessarily accurate based on my experience, at least. I mean, I guess, JP Morgan, JP Diamond's maybe a good example of that. Like, in public, not the most positive about it. And yeah, the firm's very much building out a crypto presence, crypto trading desk, and building out the infrastructure to support it for their clients. So yeah, I think there's some contradictions, and, I personally experienced a huge amount of negativity, but I must say it wasn't hugely talked about either, right? That was probably, I guess, in hindsight, the more interesting thing.
Okay, so how did you found Koia? And could you tell us a bit more? Because you said the one-liner, but what was the idea behind it, and how did you came up with the idea? Was it your idea or?
No, so I mean, we were. I can't remember whether it was sort of Iris and I had come together looking to do something fintech related, but we didn't want to do something that was, I guess, just very traditional. We felt as though, saving products, investment products were quite saturated at that period of time. And I think we both have a passion for democratization of financial services, as well as actually like really engaging people. And we thought, how can we do that and, come at this from a different angle? And that's where the collectibles or the alternative investments came in. So I'd obviously had a bit of it, or I guess exposure to it when working in the wealth manager, like people just chatting about wine investments or art and things like that. And again, hadn't really paid a huge amount of attention to it at the time beyond just casual conversations. But we thought that was a really interesting approach to, get people more interested in investing because they know and understand these products, right? And it's not necessarily something you want to put a large percentage of your overall wealth in, but it's certainly something for 5 or 10% that you can, I guess, really get interested in. And if that then helps you invest in, let's say, passive funds for the other like 90%, then that'd be a fantastic achievement. And at the same time, while ideating around these ideas, we came across Ben online. We're looking for a technical co-founder, and Ben had been doing some whiskey investments. And I think like between the three of us, we sort of settled on Koia. So yeah, just to expand a little bit more, the idea was that we would go out and buy like very rare whiskey or, amazing piece of art and allow people to own a fraction of that asset. And they would own an NFT, which would be linked to the asset. And then you'd be able to trade the NFT. It was on Polygon. And yeah, I mean, it still to this day, I think it's a great idea. And I think at scale, it could work. But it's just a very challenging business to execute. And it became apparent, let's say around 6 months ago, that we didn't think, or we lost confidence, I guess, internally that we would be able to make our, next funding round. Cost of customer acquisition was very high. The NFT bear market didn't help either.
Yeah.
So that was the impetus for us to put our heads together and decide, do we want to do something totally different? And that's in the end what we decided.
Yeah. So you raised the pre-seed round, for Koia. how did you manage to do it? How this process looked like?
Yeah, so before the pre-seed, we actually raised a small angel round. So through a number of contacts that Iris knew. So
So
we
it was
raised,
in 2021, yeah.
yeah, so we raised very small angel rounds for about 100,000 from three like very well regarded angels in the UK. And they were very useful in the early days, certainly like giving us advice around
How
Koia.
did you contact them?
Yeah, so actually contacts of Iris. So yeah,
Okay,
one of my co-founders. So yeah, that was where the intros came from.
but it was like it was your social network, or I
So
don't know,
yeah,
Twitter.
yeah. So Iris had done the Antler program. So it's similar to EF, and
Mhm.
she'd attended the Antler cohort in London and hadn't actually found co-founders during that, but had made two contacts with two of the partners there, both called Gary, and they were two of the early investors. And she also got introduced to one of the co-founders of Free Trade and also ex-head of trading at Revolut. And I think that came in via a VC Sequoia that she knew.
Okay, so this was the angel round, and then you did the pre-seed
Yeah,
from VC. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So we did have some angels participating in the pre-seed as well, but it was led by RTP and Seedcamp. We also had Portfolio Ventures and then a number of other angels, including a small syndicate from XTX, which is a big financial firm who were very interested, I guess, in the alternative side and certainly the trading elements that we could bring in with the NFTs.
So what was the total amount of the capital?
Yeah, so in total is about $1.5 across both rounds. So we, I guess, closed that and formally announced it. I think it was just before Christmas last year, and I guess like obviously during the pivot we discussed it with the investors and they were happy for us, to continue using the capital we'd raised for Koia after the pivot to Mava.
So that's not a problem. Like if you have capital for one project and then you pivot to something different, that's not a problem for the investors.
I
I
think
think it depends, yeah, on
Yeah,
the
no,
investors.
totally. Yeah, I mean, I guess at a very early stage, the investors, and they said this to us, they're backing the team, and clearly, if we couldn't think of another idea, we should give the money back, and certainly as individuals, that's certainly the path we would have taken. But ultimately, it comes down to do they believe that we as a team can execute and do something else with the capital? And if that's the case, then more than happy for us to give something another try. So they were very useful during the pivot process, all of our investors, and we discussed it with them initially before we knew what we were doing in terms of like the new direction. They were very supportive, helping us ideate and really validate these new ideas that we'd been thinking about. Mava just being one of them at that period of time. And then from there, once we had a clear plan, we just very quickly sort of, I guess, ideating, prototyping, speaking to a lot of people, and yeah, I mean, again, trying to build back conviction from our investors as well that we're onto something here, and it's definitely worth pursuing.
So you went with the traditional VC style of funding. Did you have in mind something more crypto related, like, I don't know, ICO, or maybe or even maybe bootstrapping, or you went with the VC? Like what was your motivation?
Yeah, so for Koia, we very much felt like it needed to be a venture-backed business.
Hmm.
And we knew at the outset would require a lot of capital to scale it. So bootstrapping wasn't really on the table for that. In hindsight, for Mava, we could have got by with bootstrapping for a period of time, certainly. But yeah, I mean, we all want to grow this into a very large business, and we felt that taking VC funding to rapidly scale made a lot of sense. In
Go big
terms
or
of
go home.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly, yeah, exactly.
that's the mindset.
But I mean, in terms of like to take traditional fundraising versus doing a token or something like that, certainly it felt as though it would be easier to raise from traditional funds and just follow the normal process. And companies like Seed Legals in the UK who sort of help with all the legal and paperwork around early stage startups have now just introduced a token offering documentation easily accessible on the platform. So things are getting easier, but we felt as though it would be the path of least resistance to raise traditional capital. And I mean, at the time of raising for Koia, we were exploring a number of different regulatory structures, only one of which included the NFTs at that period of time. We were also very invested in looking at a crowdfunding model, amongst other things, which wasn't heavily Web3 related. And therefore, we didn't feel as though it made a lot of sense to go out and raise a token at that stage.
So at what time did you think that you should pivot? What was the trigger to do this?
Yeah, so we had launched and done a few asset sales via the Koia platform, and we'd been a little bit disappointed with some of the traction. I mean, the first asset went very well, but the community wasn't as excited, wasn't as engaged. But we were also I guess, coming off the peak of the NFT sort of hype cycle at that point in time. Capital was coming a bit harder to come by, and we felt as though we'd fallen into a bit of a weird ground between having traditional assets like whiskey, but combining them with these, let's say, speculative reputation of NFTs. And I think we found it hard to position the proposition in that respect. So I think internally looking at the numbers, we realized the cost of acquiring customers versus potential lifetime value of these customers, it's not looking great. And we did some more experiments, we were validating, and after a few more asset sales, we decided, I think at that point internally, that we didn't have conviction that we would be able to generate enough traction given our runway to go out and raise a new round of financing to push this business on, which we knew we would need. So I think at that point, internally, we discussed it as a team, and that was, I guess, the trigger. We'd lost conviction that we would be able to execute this, given the funds available and given the market as well.
What's your take on NFTs, or like overall?
I think there's a lot of really interesting innovation that's been spurred and innovated as a result of that. I think clearly, I mean, it's easy to say this in hindsight, but there was clearly a lot of hype around the whole market, a lot of projects that just should never have been spun up.
Yeah.
But there are, of course, a handful of blue chip projects which potentially could be the next, fashion houses or, entertainment studios. It's very interesting to see how it will evolve. And I think we're still a little bit too early to say whether it will be a genuinely lasting, movement in that respect. But the underlying technology is super interesting, right? Ultimately, it's intellectual property. It's better than what we have at the moment in so many ways. And if it was widely adopted, I think it would make everyone's lives a lot more efficient and easier across all sorts of, almost every sector, whether it's, government or, it really doesn't matter. Like, the underlying technology is extremely interesting. And I think still we're only just at the very early stages of, experimentation with this new technology.
Yeah, and I think it's a really great tool for access to different kind of stuff. Actually, most of the world is like non-fungible.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost everything is unique. If you have something that is not unique, for example, like I don't know, a dollar or a coin or something like this is actually an anomaly.
Yep.
And the standard stuff around the world is non-fungible. So I think it will be really interesting to see, and to see more and more utility for NFTs. It's really, really exciting. And we have also the Board Founders Club. Actually, I have my club shirt on me. So we have the NFT gated community as well, and it's really fun stuff. All right, so what happened to Koia after you pivot?
Yeah, so we had a discussion with an alternative investment platform in the UK called Chip. So they run traditional savings products, but they were launching an alternative investment proposition at the time. So we agreed essentially that we would send our existing customers, if they were happy, to Chip, so that they could continue their alternative investment journey. And we've still got a link to Chip on our website. We're not sort of endorsing them or anything. It's just an affiliate style program, and we're just referring users if they want to Chip's product. So essentially the platform was wound down. We sold off the assets and we reimbursed all the customers. And the idea is that if we sell the asset for a profit, we'll share that profit with the end user. If we sell it for a loss or break even, we will just make everyone good based on what they put in, which is quite unusual in the NFT space to be refunding customers.
Yeah.
But that's the path that we obviously felt was correct and what we should be doing. So that business is now essentially wound down, and we're now fully focused on Mava.
Okay, so how did you came up with Mava? Was it like from the previous experience from the working with the Web3 project with Koia?
So it's a combination of factors, actually. So customer support definitely was a pain point we were having. And just as a bit of context, we were enabling social login with Magic Link, as well as a MetaMask connection and Wallet Connect. So when someone reached out for customer support to us, we had a lot of users that were very savvy with Web3 and a lot of users who'd never created a wallet before. And they didn't even realize in some cases that we were creating this non-custodial one in the background.
Yeah.
So you can understand the confusion that can cause, and not even being able to see how the user had created the account was a challenge, and it resulted in a lot of back and forth. So we could clearly see there was pain points when it came to customer support, certainly when it came to onboarding new users who weren't familiar with these concepts of wallets and all the rest of it. And because we're on Polygon using USDC, there's obviously that extra confusion, right? People are having to bridge the USDC across to Polygon. A lot of them had never bought cryptocurrency in the first place, that they needed to buy the NFT. So there was a lot of education. So that was, I guess, a pain point that we'd identified. The other side of that was just putting our heads together. We're doing big brainstorming sessions, just speaking to hundreds of people. We, I think, had an interest in the community side of things, see things like community analytics. And I guess the overarching goal was how do we increase Web3 adoption? And it came down to we feel as though there's a real pain point here that's being underserved. No one's really building a solution for customer support in Web3. And there's a lot of solutions. You've got things like ticket tools in Discord. And then you've got the traditional Web2 players that are doing a web chat widget, but then don't integrate with the likes of Discord. So there was a clear gap. And I think after a lot of research, we sort of zeroed in on that and decided that this was the way forward as a team.
So what is Mava? And who should use the app, and what stage are you currently on?
Yeah, so Mava is a customer support platform natively designed for Web3 organizations. So what we do, we've created a dashboard, and you and your team can log into the dashboard and manage the community from this one central hub, specifically when it comes to customer support. So we connect into Discord, Telegram, with a web chat widget, as well as Twitter DMs. So any messages created in these platforms for those support tickets get fed into this one centralized dashboard. And then from there, your team can organize, respond, tag tickets, track and understand analytics around customer support. So common questions being asked, volumes over time, and also performance metrics, like what's the quality of the support and what customer feedback are you getting after resolving queries. So very similar to something like Intercom, but specifically designed for Web3. And I guess a key differentiator beyond just connecting to platforms like Discord, which traditional Web2 players don't, is that we're looking at on-chain data, and this is something we're building out in Q1 next year. So beyond things like automations, just to make workload easier, we're really focused on, I guess, these Web3 elements. So being able to get someone's, let's say, wallet address because they're connected to a DApp, and then being able to see, did they have enough money in their wallet to make the transaction they're saying isn't going through, or do they even hold the NFT they're trying to lend out? When you reach out to Amazon for customer support, let's say, they know your profile as a customer, they can see your order ID, they know exactly what's going on. In Web3, if you're DMing someone on Twitter or you're coming in via Discord, the customer support representative is blind, essentially. They're having to ask you loads of questions, figure out what's going on. It's just very inefficient. So we feel as though we can automate a lot of that, put everything into a central hub so it's easy for the team to manage and not having to be on lots of platforms, and then provide data analytics around that to actually improve the process over time. And of course, there's a ton of other stuff. Chat GTP3 is something we're looking at very closely, of course. How do we improve and save these organizations time and money, and also eventually empower the community to provide that support in a professional way as well?
What's the definition of Web3 organization or community? Is it just tooling that you use Discord and Twitter? What's your take on it?
It's good one.
Because we say like Web3.
Yeah.
What is it actually?
So for us, I guess at the moment,
for you.
Yeah, it's any business that is using blockchain technology. So
All
it
right.
could be a gaming company, could be a DEX, it could be an NFT project. Anyone that is using blockchain throughout their tech stack in any way is potentially a customer, in that they could probably have efficiency gains from using a tool like Mava when it comes to customer support. Right now, we're primarily dealing with or targeting B2C entities with large communities. But over time, of course, B2B will become, I guess the second most interesting place for us to look at. But we're very much right now focused on larger B2C communities.
So, for example, the Board Founders Club could
Exactly.
use Mava to customer support. Yeah, it's actually a pain in the ass, so to speak. We've onboarded like hundreds of people to Web3, and like you said, they didn't have their wallets, and we did it actually manually, yeah, through
Yep.
support tickets and through some Zoom meetings and stuff like that. But there was a it was quite painful to gather the wallet addresses, to teach people how to do it and how
Yep.
to do it safely. And a lot of channels. So people message me via email, Telegram, Signal, Discord, Twitter. It was really painful. Do you think that the customer support in Web3 is broken at the moment?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, you've got a whole spectrum of some extremely professional organizations that have, very good support, but the majority of projects either don't have great support or they just haven't even thought about it. And it's just a total mess, which is, fine if you're just saying GM in a Discord.
Yeah.
But if you're actually trying to get something resolved, in some cases, it's almost impossible to even speak to someone. I mean, I'm obviously using Discord a lot right now for outreach and business development. And there's obviously an element, I guess, of people not being interested in responding because they're maybe not interested in the product per se. But a lot of the time, it's just impossible to even get your message seen. It will just vanish in about 3 seconds in just a sea of nonsense that could be, automatically answered by, a more intelligent tool, as well as maybe also having a ticketing tool to silo and triage these inquiries as they come in. Because, supporting just one huge general bucket, like one support channel with 23,000 people in, doesn't work. Like, things get lost. It's almost impossible to keep track of what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's fine for something that a moderator can respond to immediately. But if they don't know the answer, it gets lost in this huge sort of sea of conversations. It's very difficult to track. And also then over time, you have no idea what people have actually been asking. It's impossible to make the process more, I guess, improve it over time, because you've got no analysis or data around, like, what are the most common questions people are asking. It's just basic stuff like that you can't do unless you implement a tool like Mava. So that's I guess really the problem we're trying to solve for.
Yeah. So you came up with this idea. You stopped working on Koia. What were your steps back then? What was the process? Did you get new developers and start building the product, or I don't know, talk to communities, talk to people? What was the process?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we as a team all put our heads down. I'm not actually sure. Probably Iris and Ben, who maybe came up with the customer support for Web3 idea. I'm not sure who actually came up with it, but yeah, we put our heads together and we narrowed it down to probably like about 5 ideas. We spoke to a lot of people, just trying to gather intel, understanding where the biggest pain point was and also where the biggest opportunities were, and then got that down to about 3. And then we went into a bit more detail on each one. And I think, the customer support and as well as community analytics were very much front runners in terms of where we felt there was a big opportunity. But we felt that the community analytics piece was maybe a little bit more saturated, and that the bigger opportunity lay within customer support. Obviously, within Web2, it is a gigantic market. Intercom and Zendesk have, very valuable businesses. They're extremely cash generative, and they have very large valuations. And we very much believe as a team that Web3 is a rapidly growing sector, and it's something that shouldn't be ignored necessarily by these large organizations. But at the moment, it is being. So I think we all felt like we needed to strike while the iron's hot. In terms of the team itself, we did have a few members of staff that unfortunately weren't necessarily as relevant for the new business.
Yeah.
So, I mean, marketing was maybe something that good example there. Going B2B, we didn't feel as though we needed someone that was doing social media ads and stuff like that. And obviously we needed to constrain, capital outlay and maximize the runway as much as possible. But apart from that, the core team remained pretty much, same as it was. And we were in a very fortunate position, of course, that we had this team already and we could just get straight into the build. So our CTO, Ben, is, incredible, extremely hands-on, and just basically started building. So yeah, we went from one business to another, over a period of, a couple of weeks. And because, the new business is not in a heavily regulated sector, like fintech, obviously a little bit harder. You've got to, go through the right regulatory hoops.
Yeah.
We can just, with customer support, just get the product out pretty much immediately, ship it, get some beta users, and keep iterating and improving. And I guess that's what we've been doing now for several months.
How big is it? How big is the team, and what are the main roles in the team? And what's your role?
Yeah, so we've got quite a relatively small team. So Ben, our CTO, and we've got sort of a handful of developers. That's primarily the role. So we've got a couple of full-time developers that work with Ben, as well as 2 part-time developers. And then we've got Iris, who's our CEO. So she's obviously, along with me, doing a lot of business development, and she's also going to be primarily focused on fundraising once we get there.
Okay.
And then I'm taking more of a sort of operations product role. So I guess working with the development team, sorting the roadmap out. But at the moment, I'm also spending probably over half my time also doing the sales and business development and outreach. So because everyone's doing a little bit of everything right now, and obviously as things scale, things will get, I guess, more formalized and slightly more siloed. But yeah, I mean, we're like any early stage startup. Everyone's just doing a bit of everything right now to go as fast as we can.
Yeah. You need to be a generalist, at the beginning,
Exactly.
do everything that you can to grow it and to put it out to the market, to the customers. Okay, so you have funding, you have the runway for, I don't know, like 1 year or more.
Yeah, given the current burn, it's about a year.
It's about a year, and then you will try to raise Series A.
So I think we're going to go out and raise a seed round.
Okay.
In
different projects, so you can
around
the seed again.
Yeah, essentially we did the pre-seed, so now we're going to do the seed.
Okay, right.
So I think we'll probably go out early next year, Q1, Q2. It's that sort of time frame. I think ultimately we're focused, of course, it's a tough market. We want to make sure the metrics are good, and we're not in a rush to fundraise. But at the same time, given the difficult funding market, we don't want to leave it until the last minute and be backed into a corner, right? We want to be in a strong position.
Yeah, and you're probably waiting for the bear market and to the next hype cycle to...
We might be waiting a while, who knows?
Do you fear that, for example, Intercom that you've mentioned will build Intercom for Web3 and like render your product obsolete or something like that?
I don't think so. I mean, there's so much inertia, a big company. It's just inevitable. Once you get to that size, it's very difficult to make dramatic product decisions. And we're building our product thinking around Web3, not only the use case, but the technology from the ground up, right? So it's very easy for us to think about these features and how they fit into the whole puzzle. I think it'd be quite difficult for Intercom to come in and do that. And also at the moment, I just don't think Web3 is quite big enough for them yet, right? They're focused on £1 million plus revenue clients. And there aren't that many of them in Web3 yet. So our strategy is very much to, spearhead this market, grow as rapidly as we can, and become the go-to customer support platform for any Web3 organization. And I think that's definitely achievable. We can do that and then grow with the market over time. That's our plan.
What's your target market? Like, do you target yourself for the US, because it's a lot of Web3 communities there, and also Asia?
Yeah, it's honestly global. So we've got projects in America, Asia, Europe. So America and Asia are probably some, I guess, slightly more dominant in terms of the number of beta users right now. But yeah, it's a global product, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where the firms are based.
Yeah, but how it's with the global products. you need to target some markets more than the others. Yeah,
I think that is True, but I feel as though in Web3 to a degree, because teams are often dispersed globally and they don't necessarily even have a headquarters or a
Oh yeah.
location, they're just remote, that those boundaries are maybe slightly less relevant. I think maybe the barrier we'd put up at the moment in terms of internally, at least, is we're focused on, I guess, English language speaking. We're
Yeah.
not optimizing a product for non-UK language or non-English at the moment. So yeah.
And do you work remotely? Do you build your organization in the Web3
Yep.
manner?
Yeah, absolutely. So formerly the company is based here in the UK. Iris and I are both based in London, but Ben's based between Germany and Portugal, and the majority of the team are actually based out in Portugal. So pretty much everything happens remote, and then we aim to meet up once a quarter to do 3 to 5 days of co-working together. And yeah, it's been going well so far. It's a good way of working.
And what is the vibe of London startup scene, especially the Web3 crypto niche?
Yeah, I think the startup scene generally is thriving in London. That has been for quite a while. Web3 is certainly beginning to develop more and more, but having been somewhere like Lisbon, let's say, there's clearly
Yeah.
more of a buzz there than there is in London. But there are also just a lot more people in London, so I think that is starting to catch up. You're seeing the likes of Entrepreneur First launch their Web3 program. Yesterday, Iris and I were at a place called WeWork, run by a business called Front Door, which is like a Web3 co-working space. You've got the DLT Lounge near the old, I guess, by the banking district, Canary Wharf. So you're definitely getting more and more hubs popping up. NFT UK. So yeah, there's lots of, I guess, community, and it's definitely growing.
Have you been to Lisbon? To the
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been there with the Board Founders team. We've been there at Web Summit.
We must have missed each other because we were there as well.
Oh, really? Yeah, cool. Great. Yeah, we spent like 2 days on the crypto scene and walking around. Did you have the booth right there, or
no? We just went to the side events essentially because you got the ETH hackathon before, and then there was Solana Breakpoint after. So we were mainly just doing side events, and we were doing it was our quarterly meetup for the team. So we all met in Lisbon. We're working together, and then the evenings going out to various events.
A lot of people down there. Yeah, really, really. Cool, nice. All right, so what is the pricing model for Mava? How you guys earn your money?
Yep. So at the moment, we're just working with beta users, and actually, we're not charging them. We're just asking for product feedback. So we want to get some really recognizable Web3 names on board and just build a product that's really useful for them. So we probably will start charging after we raise the next round, let's say Q2 next year. And we're thinking around a non-seat based model for a start. So most Web2 customer support platforms charge per seat. But in Web3, there's a lot more, I guess the teams can be a lot larger, and you can have people working, let's say, more casually, so a couple of hours a day. So it would result in like a very high number of seats.
Yeah.
That wouldn't necessarily be appealing for a company. We're thinking about a usage-based model maybe as well, with some bundling based on the number of tickets you get. But really at the moment, I guess one of the objectives for Q1 next year is to engage our beta users, get a pricing strategy together, and then test it out. So yeah, we're not there yet, but some sort of traditional SaaS model, probably just charge for access at a firm level, or maybe it'll be usage-based, but it's still TBC. We'll probably have a freemium model as well, because there's obviously a lot of value in having the Mava branding on people's websites and in Discords. And you've seen how some of the other ticketing tools have grown just through word of mouth, essentially. So we think that's very valuable if we can have a premium model as well, just to help with the spread of the product and general customer awareness.
What's the onboarding process for the new community? For example, the Board Founders Club is starting to use Mava. And what are the first steps?
Yeah, so right now we're doing a relatively white glove service, I'd say. So we normally do a quick onboarding call. So if you've got any questions around the product after we've given you a quick demo. In terms of getting set up, we currently do support MetaMask and soon Wallet Connect. So you'll be able to connect to our dashboard. So one team member will come in, create the account for the team, and then they can invite everyone else. So all you need to log in is just a wallet. And then once you're connected to the dashboard, you can hook up the various integrations. So something like Discord or Telegram, it takes under 5 minutes to get set up. And then you can do some customization around the buttons and things like that in terms of, when a user creates a ticket, what are the options they see to select from? What are the automatic responses they can get? If you want to add links to your FAQs or try and help people with self-serve, you can set all that as well. And that takes maybe 15, 20 minutes, depending how complicated you want to make it.
So you get so you add a Discord bot, for example, to...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it all happens from within the Mava dashboard. So you invite the Mava bot to your Discord from the dashboard, and then you can create a ticket channel within your Discord. And then from there, users can create tickets and those messages come back into the dashboard. Same on Telegram, use the bot father to create a bot, and then you add the Mava bot to a group or as a separate topic if you've got a larger group. Twitter DMs, we're going live with that this week. It will be, we need the API keys, so you can set up a developer account, API keys, and then we can get the Twitter DMs. And then the web chat widget, it's just one line of code you paste into your website header, and then it will appear on the page. And again, all the messages feed straight into the dashboard.
Sounds cool. Do you want to integrate some kind of CRM into the platform as well?
It's something we've thought about, but at the moment, the focus is very much on customer support.
Yeah.
It's clearly like a natural progression at some point in the future. Whether we integrate with other Web3 providers, there's a number of great CRMs being built right now by Web3 teams. So maybe we integrate or maybe we build our own, but at the moment, it's not really a focus.
Actually, later today, I'm interviewing founder of Web3 CRM platform called Chasm. I don't know if you are familiar with that, but it's really interesting. But I think it's a good way to differentiate yourself, that you are the customer support platform, not the customer support and CRM and this and paywall and token gating the communities and other things, because I think startups should have one main goal, because it's really much easier for the customer just to go and do the thing that they want. Okay, so what are the next milestones for the project?
Yeah, so there's a couple of, I guess, key objectives. Obviously, fundraising Q2 next year, but I guess our main focus right now is just continuing to build up our user base and get as much feedback as possible. So, getting another few hundred users on board, gathering that feedback, iterating and building the product. We feel as though we're probably 70% there in terms of the basic features that you need from a customer support dashboard. We're busy building out automations to try and save people time. And the big focus next year, beyond allowing multiple accounts per dashboard, so you can have multiple different Discords, things like that, all hooked into one, will be around AI and automation. How do we save people time? And ultimately, that's obviously going to be key in terms of our monetization strategy. If we can save you X amount of money, then it makes sense that you'd be willing to pay for our product. So that's really where we're focused right now.
Yeah, so definitely I will check Mava, and as I told you before, each of our guests are invited to the community, and we also have some other community founders, Web3 community founders on board. So I think this is a nice way to get the word going. Yeah, because it looked like that you are really doing something that is missing in the Web3 space. All right, Richard, I have a question for you. What do you think about current crypto market, Web3 market, the sentiment, and we are down, the prices are down, the volumes are down, the people a bit are down. What's your take on current situation? Will it be better or will just die?
So the general macro environment, if we take a step back, isn't looking particularly rosy, right? And I guess crypto hasn't necessarily seen a bear market where the macro environment's also been pretty terrible as well. So in terms of short-term price movements, do I see any huge catalysts up or down? I mean, not really, beyond, just broader risk on sentiment potentially. But certainly from our perspective, obviously we believe in Web3, right? We wouldn't be building Mava if we didn't think Web3 had a future and we thought it was going to die. I think we're almost reaching escape velocity where, technology has got a wide enough reach and a broad enough general awareness in the public now that it will continue to live on. And I believe the sector will continue to grow. Will we still be saying like web3 company? Maybe not. It will just the technology will just seep into the background, which is probably, I guess, where we want to be, right? So yeah, I'm very positive longer term, like over the next 6 to 12 months. Honestly, who knows, right? We're not expecting like a huge rally anytime soon in the price of ETH or Bitcoin, that's for sure. But I think, it's just going to be driven by macro events more than anything, and just risk on or risk off sentiment. So for us, the main focus is like, let's just keep building a really useful product. And we believe we can get market share. We believe like for the stage that we're at as a company, there's more than a big enough market. You've got a lot of very large discords and communities, and all these people are still building. Will we see a knock-on effect from, let's say, FTX in terms of follow-on fundraising for a number of companies? Probably. And, that's why I think it's hard to get super bullish right now around, the trajectory for the sector in terms of growth rates in the very short term. But in the long term, there's a lot of very committed building like projects going on. There's a lot of very smart people who are operating this space. So I'm very positive, over 12 plus months, the Web3 sector will very much be alive and kicking. And, it will continue to grow over the long term.
Yeah, and it's really good strategy to, sell shovels during the gold rush. Yeah, the infrastructure.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, ultimately for us, like as a business, we're agnostic as to which sector. We're not reliant on, say DeFi or gaming. It really is relevant for anyone in Web3. And we're building a product that can help save people time and money so they can focus on engaging the community. And, as you've seen in Web2 support, like happy customers and customers that are getting good customer support are more likely to like recommend your brand and your products and refer customers in. So customer support is something that really shouldn't be neglected, and it should very much be thought of as like a part of marketing to help your community remain engaged and grow. So neglecting it is, in my opinion, going to be done at the detriment to your community. It's really important to focus on it, particularly when times are tough, right? So I certainly feel like we're in a really good space, and we can really help continue the engagement and adoption of Web3, keeping communities, happy and keeping people referring people in.
Do you think more people should go into Web3 to build some cool projects during like right now during the bear market? Is it a good time to build?
I don't
because
think
it's so hard, the sentiment.
Yeah.
It's
I think it depends what you're building. So if you're coming along and building, won't name any specific examples, but if you want to build like a certain type of DeFi product or a certain type of game, you're going to really struggle, right? Because the market's saturated. There's been projects that have been really well funded that have been building 6 to 12 months and that are now starting to deliver a product. It'd be very hard to I guess, raise capital or get enough probably interest at this time in the market to really grow. But at the same time, I think there's still loads of low-hanging fruit and loads of really interesting opportunities in the space. And certainly like a lot of ideas we discarded when we were thinking around Mava were, I think, good in their own right and, had room to grow as well. So yeah, I think certainly focusing, you're seeing a lot of tooling on the B2B side. Still big brands are still interested in this space. So yeah, I think there's definitely growth potential. And in terms of should you start today? Yes, I think so. But you just need to, I guess, pick where you want to operate carefully.
Could you share with us one or maybe two advices for startup founders, like the people who are starting to build and they struggle? You have a lot of experience right now. Could you share with us some advice?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was finding amazing co-founders. I mean, Iris and Ben had done startups before, and their experience has been invaluable. And also having a technical co-founder on board, I think, made things a lot more. I guess we can ideate, build stuff, test it out. We're not reliant on a third-party agency, and I appreciate not everyone's going to be in that position, but those two elements have been extremely useful, and I think made a very dramatic difference to our journey to date. And ultimately as well, like you've just got to believe in what you're building, right? If you don't believe it and you're just in it temporarily for, you think this is the best way of getting rich or something like that, it's probably not going to be the right thing for you to be doing, right? Longer term, you should focus your time and energy on something you're actually genuinely interested in, and not just something that you feel is the right place to be at that point in time.
Yeah, that's a great advice. But do you have any advice how to find a good co-founder? Because it's easy to say find a great co-founder, but it's really hard to actually do it.
Yeah, so I was looking obviously during the pandemic, so a lot of time on my hands, and I was on sites like working startups. I don't know if there's a Web3 equivalent right now, but there probably is. So for me, it was just a process of a lot of talks, like just reaching out to as many people as possible, networking, and I guess getting a feel of like, so I obviously was interested in the financing side then, and that was, I guess, my focus. So I had a focus of an area I wanted to work in. So I wanted a co-founder who was also interested in that. I think once you find people you think you might be suitable, it's really helpful to like actually go through and be very upfront, like all sorts of questions in terms of what you want in your own life, like what sort of work-life balance you want. If the business was worth XYZ, would you sell it? And all these questions that you might not think are important right now, but if you're not very aligned in terms of where you're going, then you're going to have problems down the road. And so many obviously founding teams break up due to disagreements and things like that. So having very strong alignment at the outset and not just being like, I don't want to spend time looking for someone else. You've really got, I think it's like a marriage almost, right? You've got to be committed and you think that this is, is the right path. Also for us as well, just financially, we had enough personal runway for, X number of months to make sure that, we could continue to work on this full time and we wouldn't be working multiple jobs trying to pay the bills. And again, totally appreciate that's not going to be possible for everyone, over a period of time. So for us as well, that was really important that we were all working on it full time.
Could you recommend any book or podcast or material that had significant impact on you and on your life?
Yeah, so I mean,
it doesn't have to be business book.
Yeah. Okay. So one of my favorite books is Endurance. So by Alfred Lansing, I think the author's called. So it's about Shackleton's trip, the sort of South Georgia and the Antarctica. It's an incredible survival story.
Are you a sailor?
I am, yeah.
Really? Me too.
Yeah, amazing book. So if you're looking for something that can give you motivation to continue to push on, Endurance is like a must read. It's a long book, but yeah, it's just incredible. In terms of podcasts, maybe one that's slightly more practical for people that are building, like Lenny's podcast and Lenny's newsletter is great.
Yeah.
You're nodding. I'm sure you've already come across it. So
sure.
Lenny's like a very well-known product person and some great advice, great templates, resources to help ideate, build products, organize your life and everything else. So
yeah, awesome. How can we find you? How to get in touch with you and how to get an account on Mava?
Yep. So Mava is mava.app. So that's our website. Just hit the try Mava button and you can fill out the form and we'll get in touch with you. In terms of me personally, best place is probably on Twitter. So at Dickie Draper. But I'm sure you could share that in your show.
With the moonbird in the profile picture.
Exactly. So that's our company moonbird. If I think any B2C community operating Web3 and even any B2B community really should be thinking about customer support, and we are building the go-to platform for that. So if you think it could be relevant, we'd love for you to get in touch.
Great, awesome. So thank you very much for the talk, and it was really an honor to have you. And I hope we'll be in touch and we'll chat more in the club in the BFC. So thanks a lot and take care.
Amazing. Thanks a lot. Appreciate your time. Chat soon.